Without taking up any more time, I want to introduce all of our hosts today. So we have a larger group. I have Logan Adams, who's the Director of Orientation and New Student Services, Dolores Machado, who serves as the Associate Director for Orientation and New Student Services. I'd also like to invite Rachel Erickson, who's a Senior Academic Advisor for the Eller College of Management. And finally, Elizabeth Santander, who is an academic advisor for our Social and Behavioral Sciences College, which is also known as SPS. So I'd like to invite all of my colleagues to turn on their screens. And without taking up any more time, we're going to jump right into questions. So again, feel free to use that Q&A box, ask your questions. I'm going to ask Logan, Dolores, Elizabeth, and Rachel questions. They'll answer them, and we'll just go through our session today. So Logan, I'm kicking off our first question to you. President Robbins recently announced that our fall courses are going to be in an in-person format next year in the fall. So does that mean that orientation is going to be in person this summer?
Man, I wish. Good question. So we are keeping a virtual format for all of our orientation sessions this summer, including our new extended orientation program that's happening right before school. We're keeping all of those sessions virtual just out of convenience. We've already shared out information that those are virtual. We've already started the planning. We think we have a really great program lined up in a virtual format this year. And so all of those are going to be staying online.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to what you just mentioned. I heard you say extended orientation, and I know some of our families have received a save the date card for extended orientation. Can you elaborate a little more about what that is and what students and families should be expecting?
Absolutely. So extended orientation is a new program to the University of Arizona. This is actually the first year ever that we are doing a program. We are hoping to make it big and great and something engaging for the students. We recognize that orientation days can be slightly transactional, that sometimes you're coming to orientation or logging on for orientation, I should say, with the sole purpose of getting a few things accomplished. You want your students' course schedule, you want to learn about paying tuition and fees, you want to learn about all of those nitty-gritty things. And so sometimes that doesn't leave a lot of room for some more of the community building, fun things that we know students want and need as they transition into the institution. And so we have created this extended orientation program to have some of those components. And so it has a lot of community building. It's teaching them about our campus. We are really ultimately trying to get the student well transitioned to the institution before their first day of classes. But we are really excited about the program this year, and it happens that Thursday and Friday before school starts.
So Thursday and Friday before school starts. And just to reiterate, because I saw a question pop up, yeah. I didn't receive the save the date card in the mail. Does that mean my student's invited? Who is invited?
Absolutely. All incoming students are invited to that program. Freshmen or transfer students, international students, every one of our new Wildcats is invited to that program. Some of the save the dates haven't gone out yet. So if you haven't gotten it in the mail, it should be coming soon.
Just answered another question. Thanks, Logan.
Yeah.
Another question, I'm really thrilled about the Family Essentials orientation session that your team has planned this year. Can you share with us what that's going to look like and the fees associated? What are they being used towards? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think last year in the midst of the pandemic happening, we focused a lot of our program on the students, and we forgot about our family members and supporters of the institution and how important programming for them is. And so we have created this brand new Family Essentials orientation that's happening this year. It's simultaneous with the student orientation program. So it is specific sessions and information geared towards our family members to make sure that they understand their transition to the institution as well, and all the resources that are offered to their students. We are doing lots of live sessions, lots of interest sessions, so things that might appeal to you and your student, maybe different clubs or organizations or student services. You can have your pick of the litter, so to speak, in the afternoons of orientation to get sessions. That's okay, because all of the information is going to go on our website for that Family Essentials program, and you have access to view it later. It does all come with a small fee. So we are asking all of our guests to pay a $40 fee per guest, and that is to log on for the programming, to have all of those online resources, and then we're also sending a little goodie in the mail.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, and Elizabeth, I have a question for you. How would a student go about finding out who their academic advisor is, and how often can they access their academic advisor or communicate with them?
Those are good questions. So you can find who your academic advisor is in a number of different places. So often in your Access Student Center, the student should be able to see who their advisor is. It's listed in there. If for some reason the student is having a hard time finding it or it's not listed, also a directory online on the Advising Resource website, and you can sort it by major, by minor, and you can look up advisors that way. You can meet with your academic advisor pretty much as often as you want during business hours. And so they do have their own availability. This differs per advisor and per department, but students are always welcome to email their advisor, make appointments as often as they see needed. In general, we say try to make an appointment with your advisor at least once a semester, but access them as much as you need before orientation, during orientation, and after orientation.
Good, thank you. Okay, Rachel, I have a question for you. I often hear parents and family members saying that their student is excited about the fall semester. How are they going about to create that fall academic schedule of classes? When do they do that? Can you kind of explain that process?
Sure. So unlike our continuing students that are currently taking classes and otherwise have a set date to enroll for their next semester, our newest students, in particular our first year freshmen, are generated a schedule by the University of Arizona. And it's timed, if you will, with their orientation day. So the orientation day is the day, a part of that day, the afternoon is really when they're going to get a chance to view and see this provided schedule of classes. And it's generated again by the U of A, and it's based on the student's major. It's based sometimes on their placements for math and English and second languages. So those are some courses that may pop in there automatically. And then again, with their major, if they're business or if they're a science student or an art student, they'll have specific courses for their major that are typical for the first semester freshman year.
Great, thank you. Can you share with us what course modality might look like in the fall, or what should students be looking for when they're registering for their courses?
Yeah, certainly. Again, you're automatically given a schedule of classes, and the modalities are likely going to vary quite a bit. There's going to be some classes that will be live online, perhaps hybrid, both online and in person, and maybe even in person. So it's going to be really important that for the student on their orientation day, when they do look at their schedule, they're not just looking at the, do I have the right classes, but do I have the right classes in which I'm comfortable with the modality that is a part of that class. If there is a required class, for example, that is scheduled for the student based on their major, and the only modality offering that it has is live online, it may not be possible to change the format of the class. It would thus require the student to completely drop or change the course, which the advisor probably wouldn't encourage. So we really want students after their orientation day to make sure they review their schedule carefully. Do know that they can make any changes they need to based on the modality limits that may apply, but make the changes they need to leading up to the fall semester. And I think a really good resource is the student's academic advisor if they have questions about changing that schedule and if it's the correct move to make.
So I have a follow-up question for any of you. All four of you can decide how you want to answer that. You can all answer this. I often hear from parents or family members saying that they feel like they need to be at this academic advising session to help their students pick their courses. What advice would you share with our parents and family members who are listening today who really want to participate in that activity?
I'll go ahead and at least give it a first swing. I think of course, the transition to college is such a big one. It's such a significant time in your life as a young person and as a student. And I think that it's a little bit of both being excited and being a little uncertain as to what to expect. So I think it's important for the parents to be involved with the student, but when it comes to their major and their schedule, and especially when the student has a chance to talk to their academic advisor about that schedule, it's really important to let the student be empowered to have those conversations with their advisor about their classes, their placements, if they're in the right number of units, and to really let the student ask the questions so that they can learn better through the process of connecting with university staff and as well as faculty, get comfortable with the idea of them being in charge of their academics. And our advisors across campus are really supportive of students taking those initiatives to really reach out and take a hold of their academic experience.
How you worded
And
that.
I can echo. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I can echo what Rachel is saying. Absolutely. I think one of the best things that a parent or family member or supporter can do is start having those conversations with your student early about what they're excited about for college, what academic courses they're hoping to take, what kind of schedule they're looking for, and starting to ask some of those questions early on so that whenever they do go to that schedule review session, that's like their first autonomous thing as an incoming student. They might have gone through some of the orientation things with you virtually. You might be sitting at a computer next to each other, but that's their time to shine. And that's their time to really take power over their academic course schedule and to be empowered to ask those questions and really create their own schedule. And so I think that's a great way, is like having that conversation before and then just letting them spread their wings during that session and allow them that autonomy.
That is perfect. I love both those answers. And that leads me to a follow-up question for our parents and family members who are listening. So if they're not attending that orientation session for picking out classes, our students are becoming independent and choosing that for themselves, how should families be preparing or helping their students prepare their student for this summer orientation? What steps should they be taking? What questions should they be asking?
Sorry, you broke up at the end of that as I was listening to your question, but I think
I can repeat
how can they best start preparing their student?
What questions should they be asking their student? What should we be doing now?
Yeah, I think we have hopefully created a really great pre-orientation that they're going to go through in their Next Step Center called the Countdown to Orientation. It starts 2 weeks prior to their actual orientation date. And a lot of the things that they're going to walk through in that Countdown to Orientation are a pre-academic orientation, is information about the Dean of Students, information about their general education courses. And so as the student is going through those, if you are looking at it with your student, or if you're just asking them about that pre-orientation, those are great conversation pieces, because especially that pre-academic orientation is going to list out some of the things that they're going to talk through during their academic college meetings and some of the things that they can expect during their academic career here. And those are great, just kind of jumping off points to start asking those questions to best prepare them for those meetings.
Rachel or Elizabeth or Dolores, does anyone want to add anything to that? What does placement exams look like?
You just read my mind. Yes, placement exams, that's a huge one. So of course your student has to do the placement exam on their own, but it would be wonderful if you could encourage them to do the placement exam before their orientation so that it's got time to be processed and uploaded to the system. This will make a big difference when their schedules are made for them, because if they have the placement information, that can be used to generate the schedule. And so placement exams, remember to do it before orientation.
And all of this can be found online in their Next Step Center, correct? These are all my selfish questions because I have a high school senior and I need to ask her these questions. I should be writing all of this down. So I keep hearing the word Wayfinder. I know there's Wayfinders that are on campus. Can Elizabeth or Rachel, can one of you share with me, what is a Wayfinder and how do you support our students?
I'll go ahead and start. A Wayfinder, I think, is really Well, first and foremost, we're all professional academic advisors, and there's Wayfinder representation across campus in a lot of our larger colleges. And we're really the face of advising for outreach, connection, and engagement of primarily our newest students to campus. Many of our newest students, that being freshmen or new transfers even, are still trying to find their way. And so if we're able to provide programs that provide opportunities to teach the students that there's more than one minor on campus and they can look for minors, ways to engage them in career opportunities on campus through our leadership and career and engagement office, and really encourage them to connect with their own assigned advisor. So if they do have really specific questions, it's about, okay, do you know who your academic advisor is? Have they ever emailed you? Have you ever responded back to them? Do you know who they are and where you might find their name in the UAccess Student Center? So the idea is to really support students in transition, whether that be new to campus, changing majors, adding another major, finding a minor to add, and so on, really helping students find their way. I don't know, Elizabeth, did that cover it? Did you want to add anything else?
Oh, that was great. You covered a lot of it. The only other thing I would add is Wayfinders also host several events throughout the year. And some of these are social events that you can get to know their students. And at times there'll be informative sessions or workshops for you to learn a little bit more about career planning or anything related to your academics. So keep an eye out on your emails and for any flyers you might see posted for them as well.
I am appreciating all of the great questions that are coming in. So I'm going to ask a couple of them live that I've seen come through a couple of times. So what if there's a student is undecided? What does orientation look like? How are classes being determined? Can you share a little bit about that?
I can hop in. So I think our advisement team might know a little bit better about their classes, but for an undecided student, it is the same orientation program. I know that I would have been much better off if I had come in undecided as a student. And so we treat an undecided student just like any other student, knowing that they're eventually going to pick a program that they're comfortable with. And so they go through everything. Our undecided majors fall under the A Center, and so the students will engage with the A Center throughout orientation and be a part of that as well.
And I'll add that the schedule is generated and the student does have freedom to change the schedule as they see fit. In particular, change the general education classes that are given the student. Now, the university has so many different general education classes, I can't even begin to name them. And there's always new ones around each year, it seems. But the university gives the student a schedule, and the general education classes are really the ones that the students are encouraged to change if they would like to. So if they get a particular gen ed, a subject that they're not interested in, that doesn't really fulfill a passion or a drive for them, then the student can certainly swap out that general education for another general education course that's offered for that semester. And as long as it fits with the typical schedule of maybe an English and a math, which we would hope our undecided students would still start those subjects, because in many cases, it is necessary to continue English and math for any degree on campus. But they would keep those in place and change out their gen eds as they would like. And so there is some freedom to select your own gen eds. Even though you're given some, doesn't mean you have to keep those gen eds.
Perfect. And I think that was a question that has been in our Q&A. So you were able to answer that. Thank you. Another question that I saw is a lot of our students are coming to the University of Arizona with AP courses or some college credits. How is all of that determined when they're looking at their schedule?
I can take this one. That's a question. So in the catalog, which is located online on the U of A website, you will see tables that show how AP credit or IB credit, anything like that, transfers to the U of A. So it'll say if you AP language and composition, that could come in as, for example, 101 or something like that. And so that information is available if you're just curious in the meantime. Other than that, though, your academic advisor will be key in helping you understand how to apply this to your degree. And a lot of times these kinds of things are what help your academic advisor determine if you should make changes to your schedule. So sometimes you'll be generated a schedule that shows that you've got credit for some gen ed courses, but it turns out your EP credit will fulfill it. Your academic advisor will be one of the ones who help notice that and let you know, and the two of you can work together to make those changes.
Okay, and just to reiterate, students will meet their academic advisor for the first time at their orientation session, correct? And can they reach out to their advisor prior to that orientation session?
Oh, absolutely. So if you've got questions for orientation, email is a great way to reach out to this advisor. And so you can send emails with any questions like that. Of course, you're going to have more time on the orientation day to work through those questions, but if you've got burning, don't stew about it. Reach out to an advisor beforehand, and I'm sure any advisor I know would be happy to help you.
Thank you. Rachel, is there anything else you want to add to that? Okay. All right, so there's a couple of questions in here. How soon can we start the countdown to orientation? Logan, Dolores, I know that you covered it. One more time, when students are looking at their next step centers, can you just run through the process of picking out that orientation date?
Yes. So a student can log in and choose their orientation date. The way that we have their Next Step Center set up is that 2 weeks before their scheduled orientation session is when a new tile, is what we call it, kind of the running banners in Next Step Center. A new tile will appear called the Countdown to Orientation. And that is their kind of pre-orientation checklist that includes all the awesome things that we were talking about. Mainly, I think the biggest one is going to be their pre-academic orientation that really sets them up for their session whenever they have their actual date. So 2 weeks before their session day is whenever that unlocks for them.
Okay.
They can get into Next Step Center anytime, of course, to do all of the things that they want to complete before.
Okay, perfect. And it's a one-on-one session with their advisor. And okay, I know some people were joining in late. So Logan, I'm going to ask just a quick follow-up question. Extended orientation is it's a mandatory event.
Correct.
Students have to be there both days?
They do, correct. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yep. So
Okay,
both
cool.
days, it is that Thursday and Friday before classes. And right now, as we have the schedule, it's from about 9 a.m. to about 1 or 2. We've got some optional programming that's happening at night, so they can log in for a movie night or for some small group time, affinity spaces for them to meet other students. But for the most part, that program on those 2 days is going to be running from about 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. with some breaks kind of thrown in there.
Thrown in between in-person, students meeting other students. So excited about that.
So this year it is virtual. So that Thursday, Friday program is all online, but
Okay, my apologies.
That's okay. That's okay.
I should probably reiterate.
I'm sure
that.
everyone
That
will be
is virtual.
excited.
Somebody delete that from this recording. That is a virtual extended orientation. Okay. All right, so we have 4 minutes left in this coffee chat. I'm going to run through a couple of a few other notes to add to this coffee chat. And then I encourage all of our guests listening to continue to type in your questions, and we'll leave the chat open for about 10 minutes after we log off, and we'll continue to type the answers in. So let me just run through a few more things while your questions are being answered. On your screen now is a link to the Parent and Family Programs website. If you were to go to this link, you would be able to view all of our coffee chats that we posted prior to today's session. We met with the Honors College a couple of weeks ago. We hosted a session with the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. Some great information there. And there's also links to all of the resources they discussed. Today, we have links to all of our resources that Rachel, Logan, Elizabeth, and Dolores shared with us. So you can hover, if you have a smartphone and you want to hover over that QR code, you're welcome to do that. But again, if you go to the link that is in the screen, on the screen right now, I'll have that link in there as well. So there's two options. Just go to that website, we'll share the link, or you can hover your screen over that QR code. I saw a great question in there, parent and family programs. How are we supporting the parents and family members of our students? So I'll share with you a little bit about what our office does. We work with the parents and family members of our current students and all of our incoming freshmen and transfer students. So we host events like our coffee chat this afternoon. But what I encourage you to do is go to our website, which is in my contact information listed on the screen, sign up for our free membership. And throughout the academic year, I'll send you monthly newsletters detailing things that are going on campus, how to engage with your student via questions. I know your students are busy being students, so I'll let you know what's going on campus and ways that you can engage with them. We also host events. So some of our spring events that we're hosting are the coffee chats, like the one you're attending today. At the end of the month, we're hosting a wellness webinar, and that is a webinar that is being hosted by Dr. Amy Appy. She's our Chief Wellness Officer on campus and Assistant Vice Provost. And she has great ways for us to engage with our students, especially since the last year has been online. And so a lot of our parents and family members, regardless of what year they are, I have high school students in my home, I have college students, and so that mental health and wellness is of concern. So we encourage you to go to our website and sign up for that. That's a free webinar on March 31st. And you can ask questions of her prior to this webinar. So go in, you can ask your questions and she'll answer them on that date. In May, we're on May 6th, Thursday, May 6th, we're hosting a golf tournament. So if you live here locally or it's a quick drive, we invite you to join us for this. It's a fundraising event. All proceeds benefit the campus pantry. And that is located on our campus. It supports the students, faculty, and staff who might have some food insecurities. It's a great location. It's a great service to our students, and they have continued to work really hard to serve our students through this pandemic. Family weekend dates were announced a couple of weeks ago. So we are hosting an in-person family weekend, October 8th through 10th. So I encourage you to visit our website. As soon as I see what direction our leadership is moving in terms of safety protocol, how many groups or large groups we can have, we'll start making plans and arrangements for that. So visit our website this summer and we'll have some updates there. Otherwise, I just encourage you to reach out, check our websites, use the contact information that we shared in the previous slide of my colleagues, ask us questions so that we can ensure your students feel comfortable with their decision, and hopefully we can see everyone here in the fall semester on our campus. So Logan, Rachel, Elizabeth, Dolores, is there anything else that you all want to add before I close this coffee chat out? Well, I want to say how appreciative I am for your time and joining us this afternoon to share some great information, valuable resources, and for taking the time to chat with all of us today. So very great.